Hi guys, Coach Lynn here, talking about the Art of Bunting, the Thomas Blue Devil way and the IVL way. So first thing we're going to talk about is whether we choose to bunt on our own or given the bunt. Either way, when we get into the box, we want to make sure that A, we scoot up in the box, and B, that we're up on the plate a little bit more. A, to be able to cover the plate, and B, to make sure that we're giving ourselves as much possible fair territory room compared to foul territory that we can work with. So the first thing we do is we're up here with our normal stance. We wait as the ball is being released. Now we bring the bat up over the top, so that way we can drop it into a good angle. It's at a good 45-degree angle, and make sure that our arms are extended and our center of gravity is about as low as we can get down in here, so that way we minimize our zone and we minimize the amount of movement our body has to do in order to lay the ball down. Our arms are like levers. If the ball I would like to place down the third base line, I'm going to pull back with my left arm. If I were to place it down the first base line, I'm going to push out with my left arm. Okay, but I want to keep that angle, and I want to minimize the amount of movement my whole body has to do in order to lay the ball down where I want to get it. I got to keep my eyes behind the ball, eyes behind the bat, and make sure that I'm staying with the ball and staying behind the ball and lightening my hands and my grip, so that way it just basically drops off the bat almost like I'm catching it compared to pushing it. Coach Lynn here talking about bunting. Believe it or not, they chose me here at IVL to talk about bunting because we're big believers as Thomas Blue Devils to use the small ball technique, part of our game. Whether I'm working with the right side or left side, first thing is whether I choose the bunt or whether I get the bunt call from my coach. When I step in the box, I want to make sure I step in the box up in the front of the box. I want to make sure I'm up on top of the plate a little bit more so I can have plate coverage. I want to take my normal stance and then look for the ball to be released from the pitcher's hand for me to get it up over the top and get a good angle, 45-degree angle with my arms extended. My center of gravity is low as possible, so that way I minimize the amount of movement my body has to make, and I lighten my grip up so that way the ball deadens off the bat. My arms are like levers, right? So if I want to put the ball down the third base line, I'm going to push out with my right arm. If I want to put it down the first base line, I'm going to pull back with my right arm. Basically, I want to keep my eyes behind the ball. I want to watch it hit the bat. I want to stay in this athletic position, drop the ball on the ground before I take off to run the first base.
Your eyesight.
Yeah, I had my eyes. I talked about eyes behind the ball. I talked about just rotating the bat over and bringing it here, both sides. I did talk about bunting for a hit. You know, you're probably going to laugh at this because most of the time we watch guys bunt from the left side, the natural reaction is just to get here. You know what I mean? So I'm working on a bunt in college with another guy before practice. Softball coach walks by and she goes, "Hey, you can take it for what it's worth. It's our game, but if I can offer you some advice, you might want to take it because we're pretty good at it." And I said, "All right." She said, "When you bunt for a hit, take this back left foot and walk to it. So that way it'll keep you in the box." She said, "Naturally, whenever you don't do that, the natural movement's automatically to bail." So that's the way I teach it. But you don't get too many guys that are left-handed hitters that bunt anyhow. So you're only teaching it once in a while.
Right. But obviously, so that's exactly what I did. So again,
you would walk to it?
Walk and drop, but again, obviously the most common mistake is you're leaving before the ball's going.
Right, and that's why she said if you stayed here, it would keep you here, compared to a lot of people. Now, Phil, that did it as good as anybody, plays Youngstown State now. If you watched him, he was just able to just keep movement this way, didn't have to walk to it. You know?
Right, but that ball is just to be perfect.
But, I mean, yeah.
Well, I'm not right that, but like perfect height to where he can go to. Again, if you're here, you're already, plus you're planting, now it's good.
Now I'm ready to explode, yeah. So talking about the drag bunt from the right side. Again, I want to make sure I'm up in the box. I want to make sure I'm up on the plate. I want to make sure the angle of my bat, whenever I bring it to drop this thing, and again, I'm going to be a little bit later than the sacrifice because I want it to be surprise for the guys on the corners. But when I bring it over the top, I'm going to drop my back right foot into a running motion. You still got to make sure I get the bat and barrel out front and not drop it back in here. A lot of times I'll lose that contact because it's too deep. So I still want to get it out here. Still want to push right arm out to try to use it down the line, or left arm out in order to go here. A lot of times when we go right side, we tend to push bunt a little bit more, so we have our hands a little bit closer to our body so we can push behind the ball. and try to push that thing sometimes into that Bermuda Triangle between the pitcher and the first baseman, make them both try to field it. Talking about the drag bunt from the left-hand side, most important thing is not vacating too early. We want to make sure that most of the time we're going to use the third base line, and we want to make sure we're more closer to foul than fair, and not an easy play for the pitcher. So we want to push it more toward the line, or we want it to go foul, one of the two. As I bring my athletic stance, as I bring the bat over the top and I step to the ball, I want to make sure that my barrel stays up and my angle of my barrel is already facing more toward the third base line here, as far as the knob of the bat facing more toward the first baseman, so I'm already ready to drop it before I take off. If I'm going to take it with me, then it's going to go the other way. The only time I may take it with me, more times than not, is only if there's a left-hander on it falling off the mound.
So let me ask you this question, okay? So when you're saying scoot up in the batter's box, I mean, this is element of surprise. You're already showing something. So if we're drag bunting,
we don't have to.
Right.
Yeah, I just thought of that actually, because a lot of times if I scoot up and I'm going to drag,
we already know
I'm pushing myself also out of the box.
Correct.
And good coaches, believe it or not, more times than not, it's not picked up at the high school level. They don't read feet and stuff like that. So, but you're right. So if we're going to use drag bunt, we can stay in our normal spot, because we want to allow ourselves that ability to step to the ball without going outside the box, because if we go outside the box, we make contact, then we're out. So we want to make sure we stay in our normal position, more toward the back end of the box, allow ourselves to have that area to step to, and then make sure that we get the bat out in front. And remember, we are also only bunting strikes. We do not want to lay down a ball that's out of the zone. We'd rather take it for a ball, put ourselves in a better hitting count. Now we have more than one option. Now we're in a good hitting count, or we can also still look to drop it. Plus we brought corners up and open field up for ourselves a little bit more as well, because now they're playing both instead of sitting back.